anyways, hey y'all, how whoever y'all is, um, wow, I was so discombobulated by what everybody else had going on. Um, dang, how I do this? So it's been a long time. Um, haven't streamed in forever, and then I come back, and I'm on some political stuff, and um matter of fact, let's cut the music. Um, darn, I have this YouTube channel. This is on my YouTube channel, Faux Intellectual, which I started, but then I'm not gonna say I dropped it. I just kind of like it was so many different directions that I wanted to go, and honestly, I had to just stop and just follow myself and find myself in this sphere because I've been back and forth on content creating for a very, very, very long time. So I've had so many different eras, and it seems like this era, my friends and I, anybody around me, has been feeling a need to speak up about certain things that we can speak up about, things that you know that too isn't too much out of our range, so we're not sitting there looking stupid. And for me personally, with the political stuff, I definitely distance myself. During the inauguration, I, well, after, during, before, around that time, I was, keeping up with, what was happening. But at the same time, I was like, I need to distance myself because I can't be like every other political streamer that you see. And I don't want to be that. But I think what really put me at a pause is that mm, I still work. I just got this little part time cleaning job, so I just clean and I do Uber. So I don't have time to sit and read as much as every other political streamer does. But from what I'm gathering at the same time, a lot of them really don't read. Like literally recently, I thought iDubbbz, right? iDubbbz was done with the content cop stuff. I've never seen him brought up in like such a long time after whatever happened with him. But now all of a sudden, him, Hassan, and a few others, and this whole video against Ethan, Ethan, from the H3, it is H3, not N3, whatever podcast. All this, and I'm just like, you spent so much time on calling out this person that may not have. I don't even agree with um, how they go about things. Any one of them, Destiny included, even though I listen to him. Like, I, oh my gosh, I there's bigger fish to fry. There we go. That's how it's all wrapped up to be. There's bigger fish to fry, and after seeing that, and then just coming to so many different revelations, like funny, no funny. Like I rolled my first blunt. Like I never thought I'd do that because I don't really smoke like that. But it was like a crazy moment. Like I'm so scared to step into, and that's what we're going to get into today. I'm going to read this Substack, and it's basically about what is it? Most people would rather stay miserable than ask this one question. Basically, we're scared of our potential, and not saying I was scared to roll a J, but it was just a metaphor for everything else that I'm not stepping into that I could have been stepped into. So many different opportunities, missed opportunities, because I was so scared of success and I was so scared to step into something bigger than what I am currently. So we're going to read up on that. But all of that to say, like, I may not know everything, but this is what it's for. I'll read what I can read. Like the man that got sent to El Salvador prison, um, he's from Maryland, and my governor went to see him. So I'm like, this is something that is closer to me that I can actually probably speak on and just read up on. Like, I don't have to know everything. We can sit here together and I can read everything and I can figure it out and we can all figure it out together. And that's what I was trying to do in the first place, anyways. But I always thought I had to be on top of shit and really down to the nitty gritty, knowing everything. And it's like, it doesn't have to be like that. It does not have to be like that. So we're going to read this about success. Well, not success, but it's more so just us, how we stay stagnant. And it's not even on purpose. we get so used to the struggle, we get so used to bonding over that subconsciously our subconscious affects the conscious, and we just get stuck. And it's not entirely our fault because you don't realize it until you realize it. But it's not something that's unique. A lot of people, if not everyone, feels this. Some get out of it quicker than others. So yeah, that's it. So I'm stepping into it. I'm just, I'm doing what I can. I was also just trying to figure out a way to juggle, like, oh, I gotta edit this, I don't gotta do all that. I'm streaming, and I'll cut out any big gaps. I'm posting this on YouTube, hour-long videos, 2-hour-long videos. People do things every day where they just want to listen to you, because I listen to people all day every day. So I'm like, why can't I just do the same thing and also just be a face? It's so many the political streamers. It's not a lot of black woman political streamers besides freaking Candace Owens, who you hear all the time. And I don't know how far I'm going to get with this, how popular or whatever, but I'm hoping just to be one of the faces that people think of, because I'm just trying to sit here and learn like everybody else. And trust and believe, knowing me, we're going to get into way more than just the political. It's the social issues, which is all wrapped into one, honestly, and a little bit of spirituality. But I don't think I'm gonna press that too much unless asked of me, because trust me, I love to talk about it. I love talking about it. So like I said, my best friend called me. I'm so sorry, but I tried to wait for her to get her thing out of her head so I wouldn't have to be interrupted. But shoot, what was that? I got some yoga right here, so I'm eating yoga. I'm not gonna lie. Shoot, is that all I really had to get off my chest? I think that is. So what we're going to do? Checking the stream. Already know what I mean. Mean. Real teen, lean teen. Hey. Sorry, I had to get that out. Okay, so now I'm about to share my little screenaroo. Okay, so this Substack is by Darshak Rana. Sorry for mispronouncing, but shout out them. Woo. We about to get into this. I don't know if I want to play the lo-fi music while I'm reading. Who is this? Oh, while I'm reading. I guess I will. Just a little low in the background. You may or may not hear it. All right, y'all. Let me get some water because this. Oh. Yep. There's gonna be a lot of reading, but I'm gonna stop halfway through because they do make have a long one. Oh, delicioso. Y'all can't see this. Bada bing, bada boo. But while I'm getting my yoga and everything together, how are you guys? How is life? I do want to talk about. I understand people are feeling like fatigue and stuff. I'm gonna talk about that more later after I read this. After I read this Substack, I know a lot of people with what's going on right now. What do you want from me? Okay, so most people would rather stay miserable than ask this one question. I learned the hard way. About it being Bob. My first business had just imploded. My relationship was on life support. My bank account was hemorrhaging money. I was sitting across from my mentor a few years ago. I was waiting for him to give me some profound advice, a strategy, a plan, something I could action immediately to fix the spectacular mess I'd made of my life. Instead, he looked me dead in the eyes and asked me a question that made my stomach drop. What if everything in your life is exactly the way you want it to be? I almost walked out. Was he kidding me? Who would want this disaster? But I couldn't get the question out of my head for weeks. It kept me up at night. It followed me everywhere. And eventually it broke open everything I thought I knew about myself. Because once I got past my initial defensiveness, I realized he was onto something uncomfortable but true. I had created every single aspect of my reality, not consciously, not deliberately, but through thousands of tiny choices, avoidances, and fears that I never had the courage to examine. That question changed everything for me. It might do the same for you, but if you're brave enough to really sit with it. Okay, let me make sure my, real quick, y'all. You're not afraid of the question. You're afraid of who you'll become if you answer it. What if everything in your life is exactly the way you want it to be? Let's be clear about something. This question is offensive, it's uncomfortable, it's borderline insulting if you're going through hard times, but that's not why most people avoid it. The real reason this question terrifies people has nothing to do with how it feels in the moment. It's about what happens after you answer it honestly. Because if you truly accept that you've created your current reality, consciously or unconsciously, then something profoundly threatening happens. You have to change who you believe you are. And that's what's actually terrifying. Most of us have built our entire identities around our struggles. We're the underdog, the overlooked talent, the person dealt a bad hand, the one who keeps getting screwed over by bad bosses, bad partners, bad luck. These aren't just situations we're in, they're who we believe we are. What happens when the underdog has to admit they've been sabotaging their own success? When the unlucky in love person has to acknowledge they're choosing unavailable partners? When the perpetually broke creative has to confront their own financial sabotage? Their entire identity crumbles, and without that identity, who the hell are you? Now, I'm gonna pause right here and let y'all know right now. This is coming off as a, oh, you just have to change your mindset type of thing, and I know how people feel about that, but honestly, it kind of is. You have to change your mindset. Nobody's saying that the things that happen in your life is your fault, but it's a way to continue without dwelling and letting yourself sink in that. Even if you think you're not letting yourself, you're still identifying with it. So it's still attached to you and you're still living it, if that makes sense. And it's not easy. I hate when people like keep it at that simplistic, oh, just change your mindset. It's not easy because you identify with it, your friends identify with it, your family identifies with it. It is all you are around. So you get comfortable with it even if you feel like you're trying to get out of it. There's still that comfort in, well, it is what it is. It is how it is. Um the identity crisis you're avoiding. I had built my entire self concept around being the struggling entrepreneur, the guy who was too creative and visionary to be understood by the market, the one whose brilliant ideas were always ahead of their time. It was bullshit, but it was my bullshit, and I was deeply attached to it. When my mentor asked that question, he wasn't just challenging my circumstances, he was challenging who I believed I was at my core. If my business failures weren't because of market conditions or bad timing, but because of my own conscious choices, then I wasn't the misunderstood visionary. I was just another entrepreneur who couldn't execute. That identity shift felt like death. What about you? What identity would you have to surrender if you admitted you were creating your own reality? Would you still be the good person who bad things happen to if you acknowledged your role in creating those situations? Would you still be the hardworking victim of circumstance if you recognized how you've been playing small? Would you still be the person who always puts others first if you admitted you used that as an excuse to avoid your own potential? These identities feel like protection. They explain why we are where we are without threatening our self image. They give us membership in communities of fellow strivers and sufferers. They make our stories coherent. Giving them up feels like stepping off a cliff without knowing if there's ground below. Period. The grief of becoming someone new. Another thing. Here's when no one tells you about personal transformation. It requires grieving who you thought you were. When I finally faced the truth that I was creating my own struggles, I went through a period of profound grief. I mourned the identity I had to let go of, the stories I could no longer tell, the excuses I can no longer use. It felt like a death because it was one. My old self-concept had to die for a new one to emerge. This grief is a necessary part of transformation that most personal development gurus conveniently ignore. They sell the after picture without showing the messy middle, the identity crisis, the loss of your familiar self, the terrifying void before a new self-concept takes shape. That's why most people will never honestly confront the question, what if everything in your life is exactly the way you want it to be? Because deep down they know it will require this death and rebirth process. It's easier to stay in the familiar pain of your current identity than face the unfamiliar void of becoming someone new. The secret attachment to your problem identity. We all have stories we tell about ourselves, stories about why we're single, why we're broke, why we're stuck, why we can't lose weight, find love, launch the business, write the book. These aren't just explanations, they're identities. I'm the person who's unlucky. I'm the creative who struggles. I'm the responsible one who puts dreams on hold for obligations. I'm the one who was done wrong and deserves better. The one I personally identify with is I'm the responsible one who puts dreams on hold for obligations. But now that I have this part-time, I have time to, oh my gosh, as long as everything goes right with this whole rent situation that I'm in right now, because if I have to make even more money for that, ooh, it's going to, I'm not going to lie. And that, here it is. Some people would say it's an excuse, like whatever, but it feels like it is going to get in the way if my rent situation ends up happening the way I think it's going to happen. I'm going to have to put in more driving because I can't put in too many hours with the cleaning thing. So it's like when these responsibilities come up, it takes time and energy away from what I'm doing right now. So it is that fear of like, I can't not drive just to do stuff, something like this. But at the same time, there is a way. When there is a will, there is a way. I maybe would have to sit here late and just edit it another day, because the way I'm thinking I'm going to do this, say I stream 2 hours a day, that's at least 2-3 videos I can get out of that if I do that right, instead of posting like the whole stream per se. But it's just, those are the identity. That's what I identify with. To continue, we don't just have these identities, we're attached to them. They've become comforting in their familiarity. They give us a role to play, a script to follow, a community of fellow sufferers to belong to. I was deeply attached to my identity as the misunderstood entrepreneur. It gave me permission to fail while protecting my ego. It positioned me as special, different, ahead of my time. It explained why success eluded me while maintaining my sense of superiority. If I let go of that identity, who would I be? Just another guy who couldn't make his business work? The thought was intolerable. What problem identity are you attached to? Let me check on y'all, check on y'all, check on y'all, check on y'all, check on y'all. Nothing happening here, happening here, happening here. Nothing happening here, happening here, happening here. Okay, if you solved your problems, who would you have to become? If you got the success you claim to want, could you still play the underdog? If you found a healthy relationship, could you be the perpetual single? If you become financially abundant, could you still bond with friends over being broke? If you achieved your creative dreams, could you still identify as the aspiring artist? These identity shifts don't just feel uncomfortable, they feel like existential threats. They challenge not just what you do, but who you fundamentally are. When my mentor forced me to confront how I was creating my own failures, I had to face an even more terrifying question. Who would I be if I succeeded? What new responsibilities, expectations, and challenges would I face? What comfortable excuses would I lose? There it is. There it is. Success would require me to become someone I've never been before, someone with no script to follow, someone with no familiar limitations to hide behind. No wonder I was unconsciously ensuring I never got there. You don't know what your success is going to come with. But that's why we have people like, love her or hate her, Ice Spice. She did what she had to do. And that's because she didn't have any limitations, no matter what bar she has or does not have. She had no limitations of where she wanted to go. She wasn't afraid of who she would be. She already saw herself as that. And a lot of people that are into manifestation and things like that don't always truly see themselves as what they want to be. They want to see themselves like that, but they really don't. They really don't. And I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say I'm one of those people. I go in and out. I'm going to say that. I go in and out. Lately, though, my days have been synced so perfect, and I don't know how to, like, even with the little mishaps, that's a part of the perfection. I can get into that a whole nother time, but oh wow. Oh, ooh, y'all, drink your water, eat your veggies, eat your fruit. Okay, I'm gonna read this one, the community you fear losing, and then we're gonna move on to, I haven't read this one. Are Americans just stupid? I actually want to read this. Should I change the title? Where y'all at? Where y'all at? First of all, y'all just gonna see me. Y'all not gonna see me change shit. The community you fear losing. For anyone that like clicks this stream for some reason, just talking about right now, just maybe you are where you want to be, and you just don't know that you want to be there so bad, even though you want to be somewhere else technically. But yeah, the community you fear losing. Our identities don't exist in isolation. They connect us to others who share similar struggles, stories, and self-concepts. The struggle artists who bond over being broke and misunderstood, the perpetually single friends who commiserate about dating app disasters, the overworked parents who unite in their martyrdom and sacrifice. These communities give us belonging, understanding, and validation. They make us feel less alone in our struggles. What happens when you can no longer authentically participate in these communities because you've solved the problems that defined your membership? I had a whole group of entrepreneur friends who gathered regularly to complain about clients, market conditions, and funding challenges. Our shared identity was brilliant but frustrated founders battling an unfair system. When I started taking radical responsibility for my business outcomes, I no longer fit in these conversations. My new perspectives were threatening to the group identity. Eventually, I drifted away from that circle entirely. The social death that comes with identity transformation can be as frightening as the ego death. We fear becoming strangers to the people who know us as we currently are. What communities are you afraid of losing if you change? What relationships might be threatened by your transformation? So, okay, wait, the familiar self versus the potential self. We all have two competing selves. The familiar self is who you currently believe you are. It's comfortable in its limitations. It knows the script. It has explanations for everything. It never has to face the unknown. The potential self is who you could become. It's undefined, unproven, full of possibility, but also uncertainty. It has no script to follow, no familiar excuses to hide behind. The question, what if everything in your life is exactly the way you want it to be, forces a confrontation between these two selves. It suggests that your familiar self is actively sabotaging your potential self, not out of self hatred, but out of fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of leaving the script, fear of having to become someone new without any guarantee of success. I was terrified of letting go of my familiar self, the creative but commercially unsuccessful entrepreneur with big ideas but bad luck. That identity was limiting but safe. I knew exactly who I was and what to expect each day. My potential self, the successful founder who could execute as well as envision, was terrifying in its undefined nature. Who would that person be? What new challenges would he face? What if he succeeded and then failed even bigger? The devil you know feels safer than the angel you don't. Woo Chile, ain't that nothing but a word? Okay, let's get let's get to it. Are Americans just stupid? Hold up. Break, 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 yeah, break, huh? Break, 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 yeah, break. I had to check on you, had to check on y'all. Make sure I wasn't freezing real on y'all. All right, y'all. Lately, I've been hearing a lot of folks ask the same question, eyes wide with despair, wine glass in hand, like it's a stress ball. How did the United States elect this clown? All right, this article is by Alyssa Valdez Rodriguez. Okay, the title is Are Americans Just Stupid or Is It Something Else? And by this clown, I mean Donald J. Trump, former reality TV personality who discovered the word groceries literally a month ago and seems to think it's new to the rest of us too. A guy who knows less about global trade economics than my cat James, no offense James, serial liar, six-time bankrupt businessman who somehow managed to bankrupt a casino, rapist per a judge, not just social media, draft dodger, Putin pen pal, man who wants to buy Greenland because he thought it would be cool, creep who thinks it's fancy to gild toilets, and yet somehow this guy, this odiferous, spray tan Nazi apologist, adult diaper ad steeped in a bowl of word salad, was handed the nuclear codes by the same country that put a man on the moon and invented jazz. So, what the fuck happened? The easy but wrong answer is Americans are stupid. And look, I've been to a Florida Walmart in August. I get the temptation, but that's not quite it. This isn't just about bad civics education or Fox News melting brains like microwave Velveeta. It's about early childhood trauma, specifically authoritarian child abuse, and the way it wires people's brains early and permanently to seek out charismatic narcissistic abusers like heat-seeking missiles launched from the tiny neglected hearts of their own bruised inner children. Because when you've been raised to believe that love looks like unquestioned power, punishment, and the holy belt of righteous correction, when you've been taught that independent thought is the devil's playground, when you've been trained to believe your needs will only be met by enabling and defending a person who hurts you, a narcissistic strong man doesn't scare you, he feels like home. Why daddy's rage felt like God's love, evangelical parenting and the cult of obedience. Okay, now this is going into religion, and I kind of felt it was going that way because I do follow quite a few substacks that deal with religion and how it kind of indoctrinates us to bow to certain authority, but for some people it does the opposite. So that is pretty interesting. For Black people, I know how we treat religion is fairly different, but the premise is still the same. Like but at the same time we're taught that like no man is God, but then also it's like he comes back, so it's like but in the form that the fact that there are people out there that believe Donald Trump is like the savior is absolutely insane to me, because no savior, even with what the Old Testament shows you, I would never suspect that that is at all what God would intend. Speaking of God, God is very much not binary gender wise, because God is bigger than us. And it's funny because I watched somebody get in an argument the other day on Twitter with somebody about just saying God is non-binary, and niggas was in a fuss like, oh, you can't say, like, some people thought non-binary was gay and some other stuff, and they're like, oh, God is beyond our understanding. So the other person was like, okay, so they're non-binary, which is literally not in our binary of gender. Like, if we're made in their image, there's men, woman, and then whatever intersex people want to go by, and anything else like in this spectrum of the universe that we don't know much about. Why would God just be him, like, just man? That's just it's narcissistic. I feel like with religion, how religion was made was very narcissistic. Like, just a man creating the world, absolutely not. Men do not create. They help create, but they do not create. That's why there's masculine and feminine energies that come together to create. It's not just, it's a whole spectrum. It's a whole spectrum. But hey, that's as far as I'm getting at. All right, so yeah, why daddy's rage felt like God's love. To understand how we got a president who throws tantrums, grifts openly, and seems to confuse the Constitution with the doctored golf scorecard, we have to talk about childhood, specifically American childhoods, the kind where discipline wasn't just a word, it was a family hobby, where spare the rod, spoil the child was recited more faithfully than the Pledge of Allegiance, then enforced with belts, switches, and Bible verses cherry-picked like strawberries at a megachurch pancake breakfast. Where guns were worshipped and sensitive boys were taught to shoot Bambi for sport and beaten if they cried. Let's be real, this country has millions of adults walking around with undiagnosed PTSD, convinced their trauma is patriotism and mom and dad's violence was love because it came wrapped in Sunday school songs and sweet tea. Authoritarian parenting, especially the evangelical variety, isn't just abuse, it's training. It teaches kids that love equals fear, that power equals safety, that obedience is the highest virtue, and questioning authority gets you a backhand and a one-way ticket to hell. And here's where it gets historically horrifying. Wilhelm Reich, in The Mass Psychology of Fascism, 1933, argued that fascism thrives in rigid patriarchal households where obedience is demanded, sexuality is repressed, and the father is feared. Erich Fromm, in Escape from Freedom, said people conditioned to obey learn to fear freedom. They don't want democracy, they want daddy. Theodore Adorno's authoritarian personality described how punitive parenting produces adults who crave strong men not because they're evil, but because it feels safe, it feels familiar. So when a red-faced billionaire stumps onto a stage promising to punish your enemies, protect you from immigrants who look different from you, and make everything great again by force, that doesn't sound like fascist, it sounds like home. It sounds like dad. The cult is the point, coercive control in American Christianity. You know how some people say Trump runs it like a cult? Yeah, that's because he does. And cults are kind of America's other national pastime, right next to football and pretending billionaires are relatable. From Jonestown to Wacko to your aunt's Facebook group called Jesus, Guns, and Essential Oils, we've got a long history of confusing spiritual devotion with blind obedience to lunatics. Where do many of these cults start? Church. Not all churches, but a very specific flavor. White evangelicalism, patriarchal control, conspiracy ideology, and a heaping scoop of end times cosplay. In these environments, the pastor is infallible, dissent is sin, women are helpmates, children are property, the earth is just a disposable backdrop for the rapture, and Trump, who couldn't name a book of the Bible if it were tattooed on Stormy Daniels' thigh, becomes God's chosen vessel. All that noise. We reading. In cult psychology, this is called coercive control. Psychologist Margaret Singer defined it as a system where victims are isolated, gaslit, kept in fear, and convinced their abuser is their only hope. Sound familiar? That's also Trump's whole playbook. Only I can fix it. They're coming for you. I'm just in the way. I will be your retribution. These aren't campaign slogans. They're trauma hooks. So, when Trump contradicts himself mid-sentence, rewrites history every 3 days, commits obvious crimes in broad daylight, and screams witch hunt, his followers don't feel confusion. They feel seen. They recognize the pattern. He's not supposed to make sense. He's supposed to make them feel safe. So, now what? How do we heal a nation of undiagnosed CPTSD victims who'd rather shoot us than admit they're traumatized? Love your neighbor. Look, I wish this ended with a group hug and a couple deep breaths, but America's not there yet. Hell, we're not even in the parking lot of there yet. These people in Substack be funny. I'm not gonna lie. Half this country is still locked in a Ford F-150 outside a Bass Pro shop, gripping a semi-automatic and muttering about lizard people. Because here's the thing, healing requires self-awareness, and you can't reach self-awareness when your nervous system is stuck in fight, flight, freeze, or post 9/11 country music video. The U.S. is a nation of undiagnosed CPTSD survivors, particularly in working class, rural, and evangelical communities. They were never taught to regulate emotion, never taught that love doesn't come with violence, never taught that power isn't protection. Instead of therapy, they got Fox News. Instead of EMDR, I think that's I'm not even gonna pretend like I remember what that stands for, but I know it's like, is it like sound or like revisiting something to therapize therapeutic you, something like that. I can't get the words together because I'm like, what? I know what it is, but it's not coming. Anyways, they got, okay, instead of EMDR, they got Back the Blue. Instead of healing, they got Donald Trump, a one man trauma reenactment loop. So, how do we break the cycle? You can't fix this alone. You're not a licensed exorcist. You're a tired, underpaid American eating anxiety gummies for dinner and trying to outlive fascism. But here's what we can do. Call it what it is. Stop saying economic anxiety. Say trauma bonded fascist loyalty. Say authoritarian conditioning. Say we raised generations to obey monsters and then acted shocked when they voted for one. Oh, damn. Protect the vulnerable. Vote, organize, fund abortion access, defend trans kids, support immigrants, read banned books, throw potlucks, be the antidote to cruelty. Deprogram where you can, but know your limits. You're not changing Uncle Randy's mind, but maybe you can raise a kid who knows that love isn't pain, that safety isn't submission, that freedom isn't following a man who needs 4 aides just to button his coat. Rebuild culture around empathy, not obedience. Ditch the bootstraps, uplift mutual aid, teach emotional literacy, fund libraries before they're gone, make being kind cooler than being right. Because here's the truth, America doesn't need to be made great again. It needs to be healed. It needs trauma-informed policy, trauma-informed parenting, trauma-informed education, trauma-informed everything. Until that happens, we're just going to keep cycling through daddy issues with nukes until there's nothing left alive. I ain't gonna lie, she cooked. She cooked. She cooked real bad. She cooked. That last line, she cooked. Because that's all it is, folks. You got me. All right. That's really all it is, bruh. And it's like, when women try to say this, it's always seen as, oh, that's just a woman's way. Y'all like to be soft. Y'all want men to not be men no more. And I'm just like, no, bruh. Y'all are hearing it all wrong. And some women may be saying it wrong. Some people may be listening wrong. And that's just what it is. That's what humans do. But it's like, do you think we got to where we are today? Like, just even look at the Bible stories. The Bible, like, I don't follow Christianity because my religion, the religion I follow, I don't even want to call it religion. That's why a lot of people use spirituality, but they still base everything completely on the Christian Bible. It encompasses every single parts of every religion to me. I haven't read every single book. I want to read the Quran. I want to read the what's the Jewish one? Look, just know I want to read a Hindu, like, when it comes to what's his name? How did I forget his name? What is his name, bruh? He was literally in the anime. Why am I blanking on his name, bruh? He's not a god. They put him as a god, but he really isn't one. What is it? Buddha, you fucking... Oh my gosh. I hope nothing was in my history, bruh. Hand over mouth. What? What? Not I was looking up the freak mods for Sim 4. I be getting ratchet in it. Alright. What? Okay. Freaking Buddha, bruh. I don't know how my mom had a whole Buddha statue. And you know, I realized, like, we grew up like claiming Christianity. I realized growing up, my mom had a lot of things that were that hinted towards other religion. But ever since we moved, she always changes her designs in her living room, so I'm not going to say about it, but she definitely had a Buddha statue in our living room, and I loved it. I always loved touching the Buddha statue. It eventually broke. I think he had like the gong, and the gong part of it broke. It was such a nice statue. It was like about this big, about as big as my hands, like that. She still has like giraffes, little things like that. Elephants. She's always loved elephants because that's a That's elephants are a good sign. But we incorporate all of these spiritualities in our lives, and we forget that's what God really is. God is everything. God is everything. Is in everything. God is the earth. God is the sun. Throughout history, it's been different gods. Like the Egyptians worshiped the sun. That's God. Like that makes complete sense. And the fact that those things have been turned to be like blasphemous or devil worship and been intertwined with Illuminati stuff, I'm like, y'all's minds being so closed just stops us from getting to where we need to be as a society. We didn't get here without empathy. We didn't get here without love. Trust and believe that. Like, the past is right there. The past is literally right there giving us all of our answers. Like, side note, I don't get how people be sitting here streaming for hours. I'm 23 minutes in and I feel like I've been here an hour already. Well, actually, collectively, it has been 40 minutes. So we're close. But just all of that to say, like, me as a woman, I love masculinity. I don't need you to be boo-hooing crying with me if I start crying, if you don't want to cry. I'm not asking for niggas. A lot of us aren't asking for y'all to just be crybabies. It's really not it. People are asking for understanding, for ears, for eyes, for voices. That's what people are asking for. They're not asking for much. It's really not a lot. I read the other day, and even before the other day, but it reminded me it's so easy to hate, but it's harder. Like, hating is such a lazy way. Hating and disliking and all that stuff is such a lazy way to go about life. You're lazy, you're a bum. You're lazy as hell. It takes effort to care, to understand, to, like, this is why I'm sitting here right now where I'm at right now, because I realize I'm getting lazy with what I want to know about and with how I want to go about this current day stuff going on. I'm living what my parents are living or used to live when I was younger, things like that. Maybe not, is possibly on a worse scale, who knows, only time will tell. But by how everyone is talking, it could get that way. But I felt myself getting lazy with keeping up with this, and like, I'm keeping up to the point of where at least I knew about the El Salvador things. Like, it's things that you just can't miss hearing. So I would still call that me being lazy, because with you guys today, sitting here today, will be my first time really looking into the Maryland man that is in the El Salvador prison that our Senator Chris Von Hollen went to see. This is my first time actually about to look this up right now, look up articles and actually read about what actually happened and how this could happen, and not even why. I know why this is happening, but seeing the shape, it was a picture of the prisoners. They tried to claim the Maryland man that got sent there was a part of MS-13, and just things that are just baseless. And then, oh my gosh, the White House speaker, I hate her guts. I hate her guts. I haven't even seen a lot of her in a minute since I kind of stepped away from that, because, I'm collecting my life. If I'm going to start doing what I'm doing, I have to collect myself, because if I can't collect myself, I can't do this. But now that I'm feeling myself come back and trying to get back and change, and just like we read earlier, that fear of success. Oh my God, I feel like I'm going to cry. I have to. I have to. I just can't not. Yeah, I don't like her. I don't like her at all. What she says is just no compassion or nothing. And people feel, oh, that's how we have to go about things. No, that's not how you have to go about things at all. It's not how you have to go about things. And I hate that we've gotten to the point where I was telling my mother the other day, I told her I went on a walk, and it wasn't even a far walk. I'm walking on a trail that's seen by the road. It's right by the road. A little street, a long little pathway. I walked like to one of our little dash-ins and then walked back. I told her the other day, because I want her to start walking. She just turned 60, so I'm like, do some little walks around the neighborhood. And I told her where I walked at, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, you did that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it was daytime. What are you talking about? It was daytime. There's cars driving past. It's not a pathway that's hidden by a bunch of trees or nothing. Like, it was 8 o'clock in the morning when I took that walk, mind you. And nobody's saying that things don't happen in the daytime, but the fact that people are living lives that they fear just going outside, I don't like that. They want to keep us separated and not trusting anybody. And I'm not telling anyone or her to go out here and just start letting people do stuff or doing shit. I'm not telling nobody to go out here and just not be safe. Be aware of your surroundings always, but don't be, you're like bringing that to you just by thinking going outside is just the most dangerous thing you could do. So I'm bringing that up because they want us to be separated. They want us to not trust each other. They want us to hate each other. So nothing gets done. In the core thing, I just listened to a man while I was at work today that was talking about how he used to be a skinhead. He used to be a white supremacist. Excuse me. And he was saying when he finally got out of it, well, even before he got out of it, he was just in such turmoil. Well, not turmoil, but just confliction because one, it was so much energy to be in that space because you always have to, oh, what did you do for the white race today? Like stupid little meetings like that. Like, are you kidding me, bro? It's exhausting basically for him. And he was saying it was confliction because the people who did the most for him while he was in his bad times were people of different races, people who were gay, people who were all the different people that we are told to hate. Those are the people that did the most for him while he was in that white supremacist space. So I'm saying that to like say we we don't have to hate each other. We don't have to dislike each other. It is not in like naturally a part of us to hate each other. If you ever heard before, hate is taught. Hate is taught. And there could be some generational things that go through the generations, whatever. That's not the conversation I'm having right now. But it is so taught. And that's why I tell people to go out in the real world, because in the real world, there may be some people like that you're talking about, but in everyday life, these are people just like you, that bleed like you, that work like you, that sleep like you, that eat like you, like what you like, don't like what you don't like. Like, we have so many similarities, and the only thing that could be separating us is a language barrier. We are all each other. There's no idea new under the sun. It just matters who's executing that idea first. It's like when I talk about things that I think I thought of myself, I already knew it's been thought of. Just because there's so many people out here that just sit and think all day like I do from hundreds, thousands of years ago that I just haven't discovered yet. I don't know names. I read and I like reading. I try to keep names in my head or write them down if I really want to know who they are, but I just read when I read. That's it. So let me check on y'all real quick. Ain't nobody here. I already know it ain't nobody here, so I don't even know why I'm. But while I'm sitting here talking, let me actually look at Maryland residents El Salvador. Okay. What we know about, so his name is Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He was living in Maryland with his wife and 3 children when he was deported to El Salvador. So that was 20 hours ago, but I know this has been talked about for, okay, this is April 1st. Boom, AP News. I like AP News. There was a website that I was using to check on how trustful a source is, or how reliable, there we go, how reliable sources are. I forgot what it's called. I'm sure if I just look up how to bias check for websites, I will figure it out. But I saw AP News. It was, I don't even think they had one fact checked thing that they got wrong, because in that website it basically showed you, hey, looking at their articles, they got this many articles wrong, and this was factual. And then it gave you a rating of like, this is a reliable source, this is like hit or miss, or this is like completely bad source type of thing. AP, they've been pretty consistent on that website as well. So yeah, but to end my little conversation, I love streaming because I just talk. It's bro. I've been crying, y'all. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit here. I'm a girl. Girls cry. Guys cry too. But it depends on real quick. Okay, real quick. We all have a masculine and feminine energy inside of us. It depends on which one takes over more, you know. But in the things we do in our everyday life, to us, to our standards, can categorize in masculine or feminine. How I did my eyebrows before doing this was feminine. How my partner takes care of his face or his beard, that's a feminine part. Feminine aspects are deal with care, with giving life, or with just little things that are nurturing. That is the feminine energy. That is taking care of yourself, taking care of your family. That is a feminine energy to me. Everyone can categorize it differently. The masculine energy could be going out and handling your responsibilities. And it's not just a masculine thing, it's just the energy behind it. You know what I mean? I don't know. We all have it in us. So we're all doing everything. And we all need each other. And we all have, like, with gay men, they have more of the feminine, but they're still men. So they're still very much masculine. It's we have such a big spectrum of being human that that's why half the things that go on in the world, I'm just like, do y'all not see yourselves in each other at all? Like, there's nothing of yourself that you see. I talk to people that I nearly have nothing in common with, but I see something in them, or I see something that is like, okay, I get this. I get why you are this way, or I can understand, like, this part of you that I'm hearing right now, I relate to that, and that's in me, and some of me is in you. Like, so many different variations of us, but nothing new at the same time. It's so it's a big thing. I'm not gonna lie. It's a big thing. So yeah. Let's get started. So this one, an administrative error sent. This was April 1st. Yeah, boy, water boy. All right. An administrative error sent a Maryland man to an El Salvador prison, ICE says. Look at this. I don't like her. She just look like, even in this picture, she just look like she up to no good. Look at these pictures, dog. Like, is there more? Like, okay, in this photo provided by El Salvador's presidential press office, prison guards transferred deportees from the U.S. Alleged to be Venezuelan gang members to the terrorism confinement center in Taculaca, El Salvador, Sunday, March 16th, 2025. And this is: the White House admits a clerical error was to blame for mistakenly deporting a Maryland man with protected legal status to a notorious El Salvador prison. Still, it asserts the man was an MS-13 gang member and will not be allowed to return to the U.S. We're going to get to the nitty-gritty of that. We're going to figure that out. But this one was April 1st. So, President Trump's administration has acknowledged mistakenly deporting him, deporting the man with legal status to El Salvador last month. They are arguing against returning him to the United States because of his alleged emphasis on alleged gang ties in the U.S. government's lack of power over the Central American nation. Lawyers for Kilmar Armado Abrego, is that racist to put an accent on it? I want to say it right. I love they names be Garcia, 29. We're in the same, like, I'm 26. He only, maintain he is not affiliated. Okay, his lawyers maintain he is not affiliated with MS-13 or any other street gang, and argue this man has a family with a wife with 3 kids. Not saying that gang members don't have families, but usually they're not married with 3 kids. I'm gonna just say that. He's not affiliated with MS-13 or any other street gang, and argued the U.S. government has never produced an iota of evidence that he does. Abrego Garcia was arrested in Baltimore on March 12th after working a shift as a sheet metal apprentice in Baltimore and picking up his 5-year-old son, who has autism and other disabilities, from his grandmother's house, his lawyer's complaint stated. Let me make sure my sound is good. Period. All right. Abrego Garcia was then sent to the Terrorism Confinement Center, or CCOT, which activists say is rife with abuses and where inmates are packed into cells and never allowed outside. Abrego Garcia's wife later saw him in photos and video from the prison, identifying her husband through his distinctive tattoos and 2 scars on his head. Wow. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials admitted in a court filing on Monday to an administrative error in deporting him. The government's acknowledgement sparked immediate uproar from immigration advocates, while prompting Vice President J.D. Vance and other administration officials to repeat the allegation that he's a gang member. Ooh. Oh, wow. MS-13 allegation stems from a 2019 arrest. Garcia came to the U.S. illegally from El Salvador around 2011, fleeing gang violence, according to his lawyers, and made his way to Maryland to join his older brother, a U.S. citizen. Okay, so we got family here. We got family here. Beginning around 2006, gang members had stalked, hit, and threatened to kidnap and kill him in order to coerce his parents to succumb to their increasing demands for extortion. The complaint states of his life in his native country. Oh, Garcia later married a U.S. citizen and worked in construction to support her, their son, and their two children from a previous relationship. Okay. The allegations about his affiliation with MS-13 stem from a 2019 arrest outside a Maryland Home Depot store where he and other young men were looking for work, according to the complaint. Not gonna lie. Um, in what is that, Suitland, Maryland? When you do go around the Home Depot down there, or is that Oxon Hill? One of those. They are around, and they are, looking for work because people go to Home Depot, and what are they doing at Home Depot? Getting supplies to do whatever they're trying to do to their home. I always wondered if that was like illegal or loitering, because they definitely do, sit in those parking lots. And, but they try to sit like further from the store. Some of them are a little closer, but they be out there. You can never take away from them that they're hard workers, because they always are. County police asked if he was a gang member and demanded information about other gang members. After explaining that he wasn't a gang member and had no information, he was turned over to ICE. ICE argued against Garcia's release at a subsequent immigration court hearing because local police had verified his gang membership. Huh? The evidence they cited included his wearing of a Chicago Bulls hat and a hoodie, and a confidential informant's claim that Garcia belonged to MS-13's Western Clique in Long Island, New York, despite having never lived there. Garcia filed for asylum while his lawyer submitted a voluminous evidentiary filing establishing his eligibility for protection and contesting the unfounded allegation of gang membership. The complaint stated. In response, ICE cited the information previously provided by local police. Let me reread this. ICE argued, don't do this. ICE argued against his release at the immigration hearing because police had verified his gang membership. An immigration judge denied Garcia's asylum request in 2019, but granted him protection from being deported back to El Salvador. He was released after ICE did not appeal. Okay. Garcia's lawyers say he has neither been convicted nor charged with any crime, and has fully complied with the conditions of his protected status, checking in with ICE yearly. Aww. Garcia's lawyer, Simon Sandoval Moschenberg, said U.S. government lawyers had multiple opportunities to try legally to deport him, including appealing the judge's 2019 decision or deporting him elsewhere. There are lots of things they could have done, his lawyer told the Associated Press, but each one of those is in a court and gives him the opportunity to defend himself, and they didn't do any of them. They just put him on an airplane. So here's my thought process with this. My thought process is, so you know how Elon and them came in like, oh, we just gonna drain the swamp, we just gonna clear out these holes, we gonna get these immigrants out, and boom. I feel like they made a system or have people looking at anyone who was arrested or came in for asylum or any little thing that points to immigration status, asylum, or anybody in any of that, whether it's legal or whatever, and they're just finding people and dealing with it that way and not looking at like, bro, this person does what they have to do, they're here legally, checks in with ICE yearly, like things like that. Like, he married a U.S. citizen, his brother lives here, like everything is working against them right now, Trump and his administration. Okay. Hold on, y'all, cause I might have to take some medicine tonight. Y'all ever feel a cold brewing? I've been around some sick motherfuckers, and I haven't been I wear my mask, but I need to like up on that and be more vigilant about that, because I don't get sick. And when I get sick, it's for like one day, evening, and I'm up because I drink water and I eat fruit and I go to sleep and I wake up and I'm good. But I feel a brewing in my chest and I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Don't like that because you won't catch me working while I'm sick, cleaning houses and churches. You won't catch me. Oh, I feel it. Because one of my nope. Yup. I think we got some NyQuil in here. Moving on. Because absolutely fucking not. Bless me. Okay, that was a bird. That had nothing to do with the sickness. I rebuke it. Anyways. Damn, girl. Get it out already, would you? Shit. All right. Garcia's lawyer said U.S. government lawyers... Okay, yes. These are... Okay, boom. We read that. ICE calls deportation... Huh? I'm sorry, AP. ICE calls deportation an oversight. In its court filing on Monday, the Trump administration said ICE was aware of his protection from removal to El Salvador, but still deported him because of an administrative error. An ICE official called his deportation to El Salvador an oversight in a statement submitted to the court on Monday. This was published April 1st, so whatever day that was on. Robert Cerna, ICE's acting field office director of enforcement and removal operations, wrote that it was carried out in good faith based on the existence of a final order of removal and Garcia's purported membership in MS-13. The administration argued against his return to the U.S., citing alleged gang ties and claiming he's a danger to the community. They also argued that the court lacks jurisdiction in the matter because Garcia is no longer in U.S. custody. The administration wrote that Garcia's attorneys do not argue that the United States can exercise its will over a foreign sovereign. The most they ask for is a court order that the United States entreat or even cajole a close ally. Oh, what do you want from me? Everyone's just cramping my vibe today. In response to criticism, Vance posted a screenshot of court documents related to Garcia's 2019 bond proceeding on the social platform X and wrote that it's gross to get fired up about gang members getting deported while ignoring citizens they victimize. Whoa. This administration is so ghetto. Like, so I the way that I can't seem to put together the words right now disturbs me. Like, ooh, y'all are so just... I've never seen a vice president or White House speaker be so, just unashamed of how they do things. Just so unashamed. No evidence of gang ties, but whatever. Garcia's removal comes as Trump follows up on campaign promises of mass deportations. Last month, he invoked the 18th Century Alien Enemies Act, granting himself powers to summarily deport to a notorious El Salvador prison hundreds of Venezuelans who were deemed by U.S. authorities to be associated with the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. Garcia was deported at the same time on March 15th, but under the U.S.'s general immigration laws, not the Wartime Powers Act, the White House said. Finley reported from Norfolk, Virginia. Associated Press writers, Rebecca. Okay. Wow. Okay, so we're gonna go back. Why are we making all these noises? I saw it the first time. I hate when Apple does that. Like, I don't care. Do not care. Oh, great. Great. You know what? Y'all are so... Whatever. Okay, so we got one down. This was 12 hours ago. Okay, so this is my senator. He describes El Salvador visit with wrongly deported man. Huh? I don't even like the Washington Post like that. Anyways. Who's this? Axios. I don't see why I'd hate them. I've never read them before. I don't like their setup, though. I'm sorry to y'all. PBS. Senator Van Hollen says El Salvador. I like PBS. They're alright. Says El Salvador soldiers blocked him from seeing wrongly deported man. Oh, for real? Transcript. A federal appeals court offered a scathing rebuke of the Trump administration's handling of the deportation of a Maryland resident to a mega prison in El Salvador. Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen traveled to the CCOT prison to meet with government officials and push for the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, but he was denied access. The senator joined Amna Navaz to discuss more. No thanks. All right, here's the transcript. All these noise, everybody shut the hell up. Oh, whoa. A federal appeals court offered a scathing rebuke today of the Trump administration's handling of a deportation of a Maryland resident. The unanimous 3-judge panel called the deportation of Garcia, quote, shocking. Quote, the government is asserting a right to stash away residents of this country in foreign prisons without the semblance of due process that is the foundation of our constitutional order. The court also upheld a lower court's order that Trump officials can be called to testify in the case. Maryland Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen traveled to El Salvador to meet with government officials. He joins me now from El Salvador. Senator, welcome back to the News Hour. Thanks for joining us. It's good to be with you. So you went there with the intention of meeting Garcia. What were you told about why you would not be able to do so? Well, you're right. I went with the attention of 2 issues. One was to ask for him to release him, but the other was to see him. And today I traveled to CCOT, which is the notorious prison where he's been stashed. And about 3 kilometers out, I was stopped by soldiers who prevented me from going any further and said they'd been ordered to not allow me to go visit with him. And have you been able to get any kind of update on Garcia's condition or whether he's had access to lawyers since he's been deported, anything like that? I have not, and that is one of the big issues here because he's not had any ability to connect with his family, with his wife, with his mom, or his lawyers. There's been absolutely zero communication. I asked the American embassy here whether they'd made inquiries on his behalf, and they said that they had not been given any such direction from the Trump administration to inquire about his well-being. Wow. Wowzers. They don't give a flying flamingo. A flying flamingo. So we saw the Salvadoran President Bukele in the White House meeting with President Trump, basically saying he's not going to return Mr. Garcia. You said you met with the Salvadoran Vice President Felix, who said that their government is unable to release him. What reason did he give you? What did you take away from meeting with him about why the Salvadoran government is making this stance? Well, I told the vice president that right now El Salvador was complicit in this illegal abduction and stashing of Mr. Garcia in this prison in El Salvador and that they should release him. The response was what you heard from the president of El Salvador in the Oval Office, which is they can't smuggle Garcia into the United States. And I said, well, wait a minute. We're not asking you to smuggle him fucking back in the United States. We're simply asking you as a sovereign country to open the gates and let him go. After all, Attorney General Pam Bondi said at one point that they would send an airplane, but the administration needed El Salvador to release him. So that's why I asked the vice president simply to release him from the prison. He's illegally detained there, and they should not be complicit. Just sit they're coming up with the excuses sound so fucking stupid. What are you talking about? Smuggle? You don't gotta smuggle anybody back that's been a U.S. citizen. Stop playing with me. That's been here legally doing what they had to do, checking in with ICE, married to a U.S. citizen, all types of stuff. What are you talking about? Smuggle him back. Put that man on a plane, get him home. That's my brother, Maryland citizen. I don't get this. Like, y'all are so obtuse on purpose. Nobody should be okay with this. I'm not even about to sugarcoat none of that. Nobody should be okay with this. It's just so fucking dumb. It's just fucking stupid. It's stupid as hell. We good? It's stupid as hell. It's so dumb. It's making my sickness get worse. Like, as we're speaking, I can feel it in my bones. It's so dumb. What are you talking about? Smuggle. It's so dumb. How dumb it is. I can't even. What are you talking about? Oh my God. Okay. So I guess the real question here, Senator, is if the Salvadorans won't release him and the U.S. government does not seem to be working to release him or bring him back, what more can be done? Well, I think more pressure and more of a spotlight can have an impact over time because I think it's unsustainable for both the Trump administration to continue to thumb its nose at the U.S. courts, especially in light of the Fourth Circuit opinion upholding the district judge and, of course, the 9-0 decision by the Supreme Court. It is unsustainable, I think, for El Salvador to say, look, we don't know anything about why we're holding him, other than the fact that the United States government is paying us up to $15 million to hold him and others. And I think over time that position will be unsustainable. I will say, back at home, I'm certainly not going to support any taxpayer dollars going to El Salvador so that they can continue to illegally detain a resident of Maryland. Let him know, Mr. Van Hollen. As you likely know, Senator, also back here at home, after the Trump administration admitted that they had mistakenly deported Mr. Garcia this week, they have been releasing a lot of information about the background of his case, including this message from Homeland Security. It was titled, "The Real Story, Kilmar Albergo Garcia is an MS-13 gang member with a history of violence." They lay out details of his 2019 arrest. They share excerpts of documents that they say prove his gang connection. They argue at the end of that he belongs, quote, behind bars and off American soil. What's your response to that? My response to that is that the place to submit that evidence is the actual court, the federal court, not in the court of public opinion, because when they went before the federal district court judge, the judge said that they did not provide ample evidence to make their MS-13 claims. So go into court. That's the proper forum for bringing these claims, for bringing these charges, but they didn't do that. Instead, they abducted him and sent him to this prison in El Salvador. Look, I'm not vouching for any kind of particular facts. That's up for the court to decide. What I'm doing is vouching for due process, which is what the Fourth Circuit just said the Trump administration is violating in such an extraordinary, I love saying extraordinary, like extraordinary way, because if we allow the Trump administration to violate due process rights in this case, you could be sure it will not be the last. Senator, you have probably also seen this week the president has floated the idea of deporting American citizens to other nations and other prisons. He said he's looking into it. It's something that he wants to do. And in the court order today, this issue was addressed. The judge wrote, quote, "If today the executive claims the right to deport without due process and in disregard of court orders, what assurance will there be tomorrow that it will not deport American citizens and then disclaim responsibility to bring them home? Do you, Senator, see a connection between this idea of deporting American citizens in this case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia?" Yes, because they have both to do with people's due process rights. And as the Fourth Circuit pointed out today, when you violate Abrego Garcia's due process rights, is a short path to tyranny, essentially, if you allow that to happen, because next we're violating everybody else's due process, right? So the heart of this is the fact that the Trump administration thinks that it can ignore the law, ignore judges. They admitted in federal court that they had made a mistake in this case, but instead of fixing the mistake, what did they do? They fired the lawyer, they put him on administrative leave, and reprimanded him for telling the truth. So this is why this is such a danger to all of us. And that's what the Fourth Circuit said so strongly in their opinion today. That is Maryland's Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen joining us tonight from El Salvador. Senator, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. And that's that. I can't believe I really feel this like sickness. I'm about to eat some noodles because it's hot, drink some water, eat that fruit downstairs. Because I can't believe I probably walked right into that sneeze air. My body's built like that. I hate even feeling anyways, back on track. I guess we reached an hour and whatever. So, I'm a working woman. I'm not going to be so hard on myself. Maybe tomorrow I'll do something. I don't know. Maybe not. But, I'm going to wrap it up here, but I'm a yap. So just reading these two articles, which I don't recommend. I recommend you guys, I don't know why I keep looking here. Like I'm looking at this camera. I recommend we all read more than 2 articles, but honestly, with the AP and PBS, love them. What more is there to say? Get that man back home. And even like with the whole MS-13 shit, like no proof, no evidence, no nothing. Y'all just striving off of vibes, aren't you? And then for Mr. Vance, I'm not even surprised because they just, every time I read anything about them, it's some stupid ass quote to follow behind. It's something so defamatory, yeah, about Americans, about people in general, even if they're not freaking American, about people just trying to do the right thing like y'all want people to do. And I don't like that. I don't fuck with that. I don't like that. I do not like that at all. It's very disheartening. It's very like, I'm gonna end it like this. Now, I don't want y'all to think that everything is just depressing. Everything is bad. Everything is no. Times like these, art comes to life. Art, education, Things that are trying to be killed come with a vengeance. Back in, what was that? Is that Renaissance art or any type of art in any time period will tell you anything about the time period. Well, everything about the time period. Expression will tell you anything, everything. When people still continue to go out to clubs during times of struggle or rebellion or, times like these where it's like left and right, what are y'all doing type of thing. People still go to the communities that accept them. And there's a trans YouTuber that I watch. Forgot their name, but they're a journalist, like a journalist. They went to the inauguration, Trump's inauguration this year, yeah. And, it was exhausting. Like, they actually kind of talked to some people that were like, okay, we can see some, but not really. And of course it was uncomfortable. They even got harassed and they weren't even doing anything. They're fully on camera, like not antagonizing anybody, just scoping the scenery out and being a journalist. But, some people could sniff them out. And of course they're like, oh, you're just here to, some men started berating them and all sorts of stuff. But at the end of the video, they said they went to a gay club or just a queer club and around people that they were familiar with and, their community. And although things are weird, very, very strange right now, we all still have each other. We all still have art. And we're all doing our own fighting our own fight. And I guess this is the one I chose. And the one my best friend chose deals with her art because she draws very well. Her art is unique. Everyone's art is very unique. Not everyone has the same, it could be the same style, but it's in the way they execute that style, But hers to me is unique. And she's felt a calling to have the conversation she wants to have and display through her art. One day I will show her art. I always ask her for permission first, but I will show her art one day on stream. Everyone is choosing their fight right now, and I want you to choose yours, what you can handle, but also what you think you can't handle. Because like my other stream, I had to cancel out. We're often scared of our success, and we're scared of who we will become once we reach that, or who we will have to become to reach that, or what type of responsibilities that we would have to put on ourselves that we're afraid of. It's really just fear. Fear is the culprit of so many things, of so many reasons why people don't get where they have to go or do what they want to do. I've had that fear, and I still have that fear of putting myself out there. When I was younger, I didn't have a fear. I didn't have this fear at all. When I was younger, I was just posting videos, just saying stuff, just talking. But now I'm back again for like the 100th time, and I get it now. And it really is just going back to my younger self, of bringing the old me into the new me. Because even with how I write, with what I write in my journal, I started writing little ways that I used to in like middle school. Like instead of putting a period, I put a little circle. I used to do a little circle when I was in middle school. And I realized I started doing that again. And those little signs like that, of that self coming out of you, that child self coming out of you, lets you know like, oh, I'm back. Because sometimes, a lot of times, that child self of you, little parts of them, is you, like the real you without the influence of the world type of thing. That's how I see it. Hello? I'm sorry, y'all. Oh, he's walking up here. Perfect timing. Y'all, thank y'all for joining me. I will put this on YouTube. My YouTube is Faux Intellectual. And we're another day we're gonna catch up, and we're gonna really talk about some things. And I love you all, and you have a good morning, noon, or night. Haven't said that in a long time. Morning, noon, or night. Stay blessed, stay fearless. Okay, stay fearless. And I'm gonna end it.